Okay, so we'll do introductions and then we'll go from there, more or less. I
I guess
guess
so.
I guess the first thing we would end up talking about is the overall presentation, as in
I think the
like,
first thing we talk about is what the fuck are we talking about?
oh well, yeah, we're gonna talk about Tormented Souls, yeah,
Yeah, so we are talking about Tormented Souls, which is like a retro survival war game,
yeah,
and it kind of
and
blows.
well, it's a really interesting case in the sense that it came out this year, right? I want to make sure.
September 2021. It's extremely recent.
Yeah, so it's very odd. I know we were talking earlier, before the recording, how the medium is another example where they kind of wanted to make a throwback type of game, you know?
And that also came out this year.
Yeah, and that also came out this year. But I think Tormented Souls is even more aggressively targeting that, that retro style.
Well, yeah, like the medium is trying to have the set dressing, but nothing else. Where this is like hard boiled, classic Alone in the Dark shit.
Yeah. And then to be fair, there are other examples, like Elisa that you played earlier,
That also came out this year.
which also came out this year.
This is a strange year to have a bunch of them just back to back.
Could it be that everyone is inspired by the horror that we've seen this year?
Oh my god, it's so hashtag
Oh
relatable.
no. That was a really dumb joke. Anyway,
Anyway,
the difference I would say, however, is that the medium was a major AAA game, at least double A, I would say, you know?
the medium had a lot of money. Like, yeah, medium's got a shitload of cash coming in on it.
And then Tormented Souls, I would say by no stretch of the imagination that it's AAA or maybe even double A wouldn't necessarily be appropriate to say,
Oh no, it's jank as fuck. There's no way to avoid that.
but it is a very good looking game, like
Well,
in some ways.
I think I would give it that. Where I think the character models are a little iffy,
Yeah.
but the environments, the use of lighting, like I will say that is one thing I will give it. I am genuinely impressed how good it looks, all things considered.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly like you said, the character models leave a lot to be desired. They're not super impressive, but the environments are great. Like it's a pretty good looking game.
Yeah, like it nails the atmosphere of what you would want from something like this, and also it has like this. It's hard to put my finger on it, but it's like I guess this would go more in art direction, where there's some really inspired choices for some parts of this game. Where it,
Uh, I'll be interested in hearing that. Like when we're
I
talking about
think,
the presentation more.
oh, you just want to like jump into presentations since you're talking about visuals.
In a second, the last thing I wanted to like the point I wanted to get to wrap all of this around is I definitely wouldn't call the medium an indie game, but I would definitely call Elisa an indie game. Elisa is
Oh yeah,
100% an indie game. If I'm not mistaken, it was made by like one or two people.
yeah, it's like very bare bones.
Where does Tormented Souls fall into that?
Okay, so let's say it's like a spectrum, and then like Elisa and the medium are like two opposite ends.
Yeah.
I'd say it is halfway between the middle and Elisa. Like,
Oh, so
there's
it's
more
it's
production
closer.
here.
It's closer to indie than it is to proper studio project.
Yeah, it's like, well, one, I think I just think, okay, so I could be wrong. I am under the assumption this is the first game made by the studio. I have not found anything else they worked on.
I mean, that's most likely the case, and that's what I thought as well.
And if that is the case, I could be wrong. It could just be like missing information. I am very impressed for a very first swing at the bat. As much
Well,
as I think this game sucks.
I'm impressed as far as the visuals go, but it undoubtedly, like, without any argument, it falls into the usual traps that any first project ends up ends up falling into, which is it's overambitious.
That's the number one issue the game has.
They tried to do too many things. They weren't sure of the direction they wanted to go in, or they lost track of the direction they wanted to go in, or they just changed their mind too many times along the way, and the game kind of becomes a mess for that.
And the thing is, like, I know what they were trying to do. I can look at this and I know what they're going for. They wanted to be a true blue spiritual successor to, more than anything else, Alone in the Dark. This is an Alone in the Dark game.
I haven't played any of the Alone in the Dark games except for, the 2008 game, which I wouldn't even count.
Yeah.
But I saw your videos on it, and I could see that being the case.
This is 100% an Alone in the Dark game, down to the exact same conclusion of Alone in the Dark 1. Like, this is just following that template.
Just walking out of the mansion and jumping up and clicking your heels.
Okay, well, no. See, that's Kino, right? Because Alone in the Dark 1 is fucking great.
So that's the difference. That's where they missed.
But it's like the whole reveal of this is a full spoiler chat. So
sure, yes, that's okay. That's very fair to bring up right off the bat. If you haven't played Tormented Souls and you're interested in going into it blind, both of us feel similarly. The game is really bad. Don't really recommend it. You can watch my review on it. From what I understand, my good buddy co-host here is going to have his own review on it sometime down the line.
It's done. It's just like a matter of like whenever I feel like dropping a bunch of things all at once.
For sure, yeah. Adhering to like a schedule, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like actually having a backlog. Like this will go here. This will go here.
Yeah, that's what I like to do as well. Yeah. Well, sometimes, whatever. But yeah, like, I would recommend, if anything, watching those reviews if you want to stay spoiler free. But generally speaking, we don't really recommend it. But if you don't care about any of that, yeah, keep in mind this is extremely spoiler heavy. We're not going to, we're not going to hide anything. I think that's enough of a warning.
But yeah, it's like the thing is the setup of Alone, and I guess the twist of the original Alone in the Dark is that basically there's like a Cthulhu elder god under the house, and
that's
it's just there, and it's just been the family that's been living there has been sacrificing things to the elder god. It's like that's just Tormented Souls.
Yeah, you know what? When you put it that way, that is very much the story of Tormented Souls.
It is the exact same storyline. And granted, Tormented Souls is way fucking wackier than Alone in the Dark is, which is bizarre, but
it's kind of funny that for being so directly inspired by Alone in the Dark, and for clearly being a sort of Cthulhu-esque kind of setting, nothing kills you due to knowledge. You don't read a book and go insane.
You don't read a book and then have your character just do an insane death animation where their heads just like spin in circles.
Yeah.
God, Alone in the Dark 1 is so fucking great.
I think that would have been kind of fun. I don't know. They could have tried to work that in.
The closest thing they have, and it's the laziest cop-out, is that in the dark, Slender Man comes to get you.
No, keep in mind, I don't think you ever had that happen to you when you played the game, did you? You never let yourself get killed in the dark?
Nah.
No, it's not abstract at all. If you let the dark kill you, you don't get a clear shot of the creature, but it's clearly just a generic monster like grabs you and drags you away, and then it just says game over. You died. That's it.
Well, that's fucking lame.
Yeah. You would figure that it's like something abstract or unseeable, ripped you apart or did something, but no, it's like it's an extremely generic death. It's it doesn't even make sense. It's like it's not like you dropped your weapon. Like you still have full access to your inventory, I assume. Just I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
I'm telling you, dude. Like Slender Man got you.
Is that
You
what
got
it
this.
is?
You got the static effect. You got the Slender sickness. You didn't have your anti-radiation pills, so you died.
Damn. You couldn't find all the pages. Damn.
Dude, you got like 7 out of 8 pages. Slenderman got really aggressive, and you just got radio static to death. God, fucking. Now I'm just thinking about Slenderman because it is so much more.
There's more to Slender Man than this.
There's more to Slenderman.
Damn.
I can talk about, dude, like, I don't know, like Slenderman. Like, there's like 1,000 web series. There's like real life murders. Like, there's shit about Slenderman.
To be clear, we're talking about like how much there is to talk to in terms of quantity, but
Not quality.
But okay, that's what I was getting at. Like,
Not
we're,
fucking quality.
we're
Slenderman.
not.
Are you joking?
We're not saying that Slender Man is actually worth anything.
Like, no, the highest quality entertainment you're gonna get with Slenderman is reading those fucking, like, sweaty, fucking horny basement dwellers writing Slenderman porn.
Oh my goodness.
Truly. Yeah, it's like this horrible
I was not
monster.
aware. I was
Dude,
not aware.
there's so much more than you would ever expect.
Well, I didn't need to know that, but that's fine.
We have such sights to show you.
Oh dear. I didn't need to know this, but okay.
Oh, it's horrible. But it's funny. Anyway.
Let's move forward. Let's talk about the presentation of Tormented Souls, because I think
Alright, so
there's
you
a
wanna
lot
save
to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
You want to save the story more? And, like, say that for later? Because, like...
Oh, man, do you want to talk about the story first? That's
I
probably
have a
better.
fair bit. I have a fair bit to talk about the story.
I think let's talk about the story first, because after all, like that's like what the most surface thing, it's just the story. It's what everyone experiences, and then we can get to opinionated stuff on presentation and gameplay afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
So-
go over the story first.
For me, it's like, I think the number one issue is that this game's story suffers from the kind of, I guess, like, I'm failing to think of many games that have it as bad as this, but where there is no plot, there is only lore.
Oh, sure.
It's like, it's just text descriptions. That's the entire content of the narrative.
I mean, so maybe this isn't a very fantastic example, so to speak, but I just played through all of Dead Space, and I think that's a similar case. It
is a very similar case.
It has a story, Dead Space, it has characters, it has an objective to go through, but like the story is really lame. And it acts like the plot twist at the end is like, oh, you didn't see this coming. It's like who couldn't have seen it coming?
I think I sort of call it like the System Shock method of storytelling, because I know like System Shock 1 was like a very early progenitor of this kind of shit.
Oh, of that type of storytelling.
System Shock 1 has basically the most bare bones of stories, but the lore is quite extensive for the time.
Okay. That's definitely how it, like the story in Tormented Souls, I don't know, they were trying to do something, but it's kind of lame.
I think the thing that gets me is like it's presented in the most dull, read a book nerd way possible, while having the most insane subject matter that you could have done so much with and getting fucking just ludicrous with.
I think it could have been fine, but I found the stuff you read, the text, I found it to be way too heavy. It's overly descriptive. The prose is extremely flowery. It gets out of hand compared to, something like, well, Dead Space, for example, there's a ton of documents to read in that game, but everything is very concise. It's to the point, and it's kind of fun to read, because it feels like it's written by real people. Doesn't feel
Well,
like
that's also
doesn't feel like
that's kind of
everything. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it doesn't feel like everything's written by Edgar Allan Poe.
yeah, like fuck, dude. But it's like I think that's one of the big things about Dead Space in comparison. Like obviously it's just like recency because you played it, but
Exactly. Yeah.
in Dead Space, like the notes have a different flavor depending on who's writing them. Like you will get like
Yeah.
curt, to the point, no bullshit, like basically like almost like fucking bullet form from like an engineer or a maintenance staff. Because it's just like it's just like workplace reports. Like they just want to be in and out as fast as possible.
Yeah. And then you
And
get something completely different if the captain wrote it.
Yeah, and then if you get something from one of the unitologists writing it, it's just like this fucking insane Cthulhu mythos, he who shall not be named bullshit.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So
Yes.
it's like, depending who's writing it, you're getting a different flavor of presentation. Where Tormented Souls, if you didn't list the names of the people writing the notes, I could not tell you who the narrator was. There is no unique voice to it.
Now, don't get me wrong, all right? There are in Tormented Souls, you have you have the dad, or how do I even explain this? Like, I guess in the backstory you have the father and the mother that are the father and the mother of the main character, and you don't find this out until the end of the game, but whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you don't find this out until the end of the game, but you can certainly infer. But anyway.
You don't find it out, but you know it from literally the moment you start the game.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's extremely obvious. But anyway, you have the father and the mother, and both of them have extremely flowery prose. They're basically writing fucking poems in their diary.
Yeah.
Like it's very ridiculous. And then you also have like random maintenance workers and engineers who worked in the mansion/hospital, and their stuff is a little bit more to the point. So I can see, in a sense, it's like, all right, this is a different character. We have a different voice here, fine. But still, in the writing, I distinctly remember this one part where this guy's like, oh, I tried to get gas to come out of this mechanism, and nothing would come out, no matter how many times I tried to pump it. I went to my boss to explain it to him, and he just looked annoyed and sighed and put his hand over his face. Then he left with 3 knobs. That's the hint for the puzzle, by the way. And he came back, and suddenly it started working. It's like, it's the longest fucking way to get, it's like, get to the point. Why is it so drawn out? It's so odd. It is strangely over-descriptive. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't get it.
It's like another thing with the writing is it's overly descriptive, and there's just no voice to it. Like, I think here's a comparison I would use is probably the most famous note in a survival horror game. It's for Itchy Tasty from Resident Evil 1.
Oh, sure, yeah. That's a great one.
So, for Itchy Tasty, maybe I'm just like hyping it up more than I remember, but one thing I noticed about it is there's almost like this weird bell curve of detail given, where it starts off extremely bare bones, like sentence by sentence, like whoever beat me in poker, cheating bitch.
Yeah, I
But
recall
as
that.
he's getting more panicked, he's giving more details, but then it reaches a crescendo where as he's slowly becoming a zombie, you're getting less and less details.
Yes. No, I distinctly remember it being very much like that, yeah. Because
So there's like
and
a
it
distinct flavor.
and it makes sense in that diary entry, because as he's panicking more and he's wondering more of like, who are the kind of people I'm working for, it's a really good note. It's a really good document. I mean, Resident Evil in general has a lot of good documents to read, and you don't get that in Tormented Souls. It's very
Well, the
obnoxious.
thing too is like with the father, the mother, the priest villain, and I believe I think Emma is the sister who's like locked in a basement and becomes the basement fatty. Like I think.
Who's the main character? Because the main character is
The main character's Emma. Anna's the sister.
That's right. Okay, yeah. I was saying like who's the other sister? Yeah. Emma's the main character, Anna's the sister, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like Anna is like the so Anna the priest who's the villain, who's also the grandfather, and the father and the mother, like if you took the names off their reports, like just
yes.
like
I know
blank,
exactly where you're coming from. And just like
all four of them sound
wrote,
like the exact same person.
Yeah. Like who wrote what. And you know, aside from certain details, like the mother saying she's pregnant, obviously, like, you would take that out. But if you just, like, generic lines from, or generic pages from one or the other, yeah, I know, I get exactly what you're saying now. No one has a unique voice. No one has really a unique way of writing.
No, it's like, and I get, like, you could, like, technically chalk this up to language barrier. Because, like, this is, like, a South American game.
It is a South American game. It's worth mentioning, yeah. It's possible that it's a language barrier kind of thing. And, in fact, I guess you could just call this a little bit of trivia. You know, when you look at the document, it's technically a 3D model. And then you interact with, you know, the 3D model of the book. And that's how you actually read the document, right?
Yeah.
If you have to like zoom in really far because it's blurry and it's not a great image, but if you look closely at the 3D model of the book itself, all the text is there that you would read if you click on it into the document, but the text in the book is in Spanish. It seems to be very translated. I got most of it. I don't know if it's like Brazilian or Portuguese or, you know, maybe some other dialect. I don't think it's directly Spanish, but I could be wrong. But I was able to translate like a good bit of it, like just reading off of that. And I'm like, oh, this is just the actual document. It's just in Spanish for some reason. And it really threw me off because I'm like, the setting is supposed to be in Canada. So
it's literally where I live.
So I'm like, who are these characters? And then I found out much later, I'm like, oh, this is a South American developer. It's like, now it's making a lot more sense.
Yeah, like, I immediately assumed this was, like, them Vancouver boys at it again.
Yeah, that's...
But no.
I assumed it was a Canadian production, if anything. It's very strange.
Like, okay, so I just gotta mention that, like, I don't know where the hospital is, like, the mansion or whatever.
Sure.
I know that the main character, Caroline / Emma, lives in, like, what is it? I think it's Campbell River, British Columbia.
That's right.
So this is the weirdest fucking thing to me. Because, like, okay, of all places in British Columbia, you choose fucking Campbell River.
I mean, it makes me wonder of one of two possibilities. They, like, you know, got a random location. You know, they spun a wheel, and, you know, it's like, oh, give me like 20 spots that no one's ever heard of in real life. They spun a wheel, and it's like, yeah, fuck it, that's the one we're going for. It's either that, or they, you know, vacationed in Canada, and they, you know, went around and was like, oh man, this place looks pretty cool. I'm going to use this as a setting for a video game one day. That's what I got out of it. It's okay. Like one or the other. I don't know what the hell else it could be.
I have been to fucking the island where this is filmed.
And you're set. Like, what? There's like nothing there worth seeing.
1 minute. I'm going to Google Images.
It's basically like not recommended.
It gets a schmeckamented.
It gets a schmeckamented. Oh man, it gets a classic. It stinks.
It stinks.
No, but yeah, I agree. It's just strange. I don't know. The hell.
It looks like every suburbia that has ever existed.
Every generic suburbia. To be fair, to be clear, 99% of Tormented Souls takes place like in this fucking hospital. you know,
I
in
just
this building. Like it's so weird because the setting could take place anywhere in the world. It doesn't
it
have to
just
be in
threw me
Canada.
off. It just threw me the fuck
No,
off
I
because like
mean,
I physically have been to where this game is allegedly taking place.
it would throw me off too if I played a game and it's like the address is just down the street from me. I'm gonna be like, why?
Of all fucking places.
Yeah, like to be clear, the game could take place anywhere. Like there's nothing distinctive about the outside setting. It could have been in like the mountains of Russia. You know, it could have been in a backwater swamp in Florida. It is so indistinctive that it could have been anywhere. I don't know
You
how
could
else to
have
put it.
literally not said where the game
Yeah,
takes
you could have
place.
said not where you could have not said where it takes place. It would have been fine too.
Like, hey, where does Resident Evil 1 take place? I don't fucking know.
Raccoon City, where is that? Oh,
I don't know.
yeah, no, yeah,
America.
America. Yeah, no,
It's America Town.
it's very weird. I part of me wonders. I wonder if like this is like the thought process the developers went through. Is they were designing this game and they're like, we want every item in the game to have 3D models because that's what Resident Evil 1 did, you know?
Of course.
And, you know, Alone in the Dark 1 did that as well, but I don't know how they did it in Alone in the Dark 1. Were you able to interact in like, you know, the way that Resident Evil 1 did? You're able to interact with the items that way? You kind of could? Okay.
Kinda.
But Resident Evil 1 did it a lot more, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
right?
Resident Evil 1 is like extremely intense relative to the time.
Relative to the time, yeah, not not as intense as Tormented Souls is, but we'll get into that later.
I'll just get the big one out of the way right now. I have never seen a power adjustable stapler in my fucking life.
Dude.
Fuck off.
We'll get into more of that later, but yeah, Tormented
like-
Souls gets really carried away. But anyway, what I was getting at is like the developers have the thought process where like we want to have every item have a 3D model and be detailed and be interactable because that's what Resident Evil 1 did and it was cool. And the way their story plays out is Caroline Walker gets drawn to the mansion by a letter. And the player is going to flip the letter around and it's like, oh shit, what are we going to have for the address? We got to pick some place. Fucking Canada. No, more realistic. It has to be, we got to have a very specific address and we want it to be grounded in reality and be real. I wonder if that's the thought process that the director was going through, you know? And they basically just picked a random address and went with that.
Probably it's just like, what if it's just like, oh look, you know, no return address.
Well, I mean, Caroline needs to like Caroline needs to know where to go.
Well, not even that. It's just like one, this implies that this dude just sent it through the postal system, which is like
Yes.
hilarious to me.
I
Evil
agree.
Priest is just like as he's like handwriting this fucking message on the photo.
I agree. It's very silly. There's no getting around that. And I'm not defending the story at all. It's very fucking dumb. It's so stupid. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just saying that I could see this being the thought process the director goes through. And I'm not defending it at all. I'm just trying to find a reason behind it, you know?
And on top of that, it's like the way I would see it. All right.
Go ahead.
Just what if it was a phone call instead of a letter?
No, because for whatever reason, the photograph is important.
But here's my problem, right? the photograph gives away the entire plot twist to anybody with like two brain cells to rub together.
I agree. But
If you didn't have the photograph, it would not be anywhere near as obvious.
I agree. But I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, you know. They wanted to have that plot twist front and center because they wanted to have, you know, oh, twins in the photograph. Did you get the hint? Did you get it?
Red hair?
I don't know.
Also,
man.
it's hilarious how long it takes Caroline to understand that she's time traveling.
I don't really know how to take that. Honestly.
Everyone understands it who is viewing, who is playing. Everyone will get it. And she's just like, what's happening? It's like I'm in a different time.
It really makes me think that the game was developed out of order. I don't know how else to put it.
Is Caroline just canonically baked for the entire fucking game?
It would be a far more appropriate explanation.
You're like, what, man? Am I in the past playing a shitty game that sucks ass?
It's extremely strange because the first time you time travel, by the way, spoilers, you time travel in this game. The first time you time travel, you do it to rescue Anna from the prison cell. All right? And you can argue that Emma, Caroline, whatever, she just bumbles her way through the puzzle solution, puts acid on the lock, and then in present time, she's like, oh, the lock came off, that's weird. But she should get it eventually. Like, she should figure it out eventually. You know what I'm saying?
By the time she's talking to the priest and the statue's not broken, he's like, what? Who are you? What are you talking about? The statue's broken.
That's the big one. That's where it's
two
like...
and two together.
That's the part where I'm like, she can't be serious. She actually hasn't figured it out. That's what makes me wonder if the game was made out of order. It makes me wonder if that scene was supposed to happen first.
Honestly, maybe. Because if that was the first scene, because that would make sense because there's no contextual information that is time travel at that point.
Yeah.
So it's like, I could justify it. But it's like, with the inclusion of the child and the scene, no, fuck off, it's time travel.
Exactly. That's what I'm just getting at. Now, if it was done that way intentionally, all that means is the director of the game, head director, creator, whatever, head developer, whatever, however you want to put it, the director of the game basically thinks that the players are all complete fucking brain dead retards. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Which is also silly considering the kind of puzzles they expect you to complete in this game.
Yeah, like, holy fuck, like, they think you're an idiot with reading comprehension, but they think you are a fucking genius when it comes to number recognition.
Yeah, like, it's...
an abstract thought, like, fuck.
This game is really all over the place. It's... because the whole point of that conversation that Emma has with the priest, where she's like, oh, but I've only known of that statue being broken. Oh, I would certainly hope it hasn't been broken. It's been like this for years. And then also Emma, on the VHS tape, it shows the date and time, It's all these, like, clues that it's like, hey, this is time travel.
My god, it shows the fucking date and time?
On the VHS tape, yeah. Well, not the time. Not the time, but it shows, like, the date. It shows the month, the day, and the year. And there's
calendars everywhere.
Yes. And there's
Emma's actually just a fucking idiot. Holy shit.
And there's like calendars throughout the whole fucking mansion telling you, I forget the day and the year now, but...
it was like sometime in the 90s, like 95 or something like that.
Something like that. And then the first time that you go back in time, one of the first thing that, pops out at you in the environment that's like really obvious is a calendar. And it's like, I don't know, like 20 years ago or something. And it's just like, I don't know, man. How do you not put two and two together? But the whole point that they have that conversation between Emma and the priest there is to remind the player about time travel, because the whole point of that specific VHS tape, the one that the priest is in, the whole point of that specific VHS tape is to make use of two time traveling puzzles. So the director is like, oh well, the car battery and the freezer. So the director's like, oh well, we need to remind the player that this is about time travel. It's like, that's not what we need a hint for. Like, everyone got that one. I don't know, man.
Like, I don't know, like, and even then, like, with those puzzles, I think you easily could justify it, where it's like, okay, the car battery you put in, and you just get it back instantly. The blood pack you put in, and it's like, oh, just come back later, and make the trigger when you exit and enter the room again.
Yeah, basically what you're saying is that, like, using those puzzles for time travel is extremely dumb. And I would agree. With
it's
that.
Extremely ham-fisted.
You know what else? Another reason behind it? If you recall, when Emma first interacts with the priest, this is in the basement of the mansion, and for some reason the priest is in front of like a corpse. We never addressed that, but okay,
he's chilling,
Yeah, he's just doing it fine, whatever. Nothing creepy about this, I guess, whatever. But the first time they interact, the priest says something to Emma along the lines of, oh, my child, we meet again. And she's like, what? I don't recognize you at all. Oh, I must be mistaken. Never mind. That is supposed to be a reference to her having time travel to speak with him in the past. It's creating a time paradox kind of loop. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the problem I have with that.
Oh, go ahead. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be many. Jesus.
Okay, so the biggest issue I have with that is he knows exactly who she is because he sent the letter because he needed her here for the sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. You know what? For a second there, I actually forgot about that.
So it's like, oh, it completely falls apart.
I don't know. The whole story makes no sense. I really don't know what to say. It's so strange.
This is a game that feels like this entire thing was a first draft.
Yes. That's a very good way to put it.
This whole game.
That's a very good way to put it.
It's a first draft. There's no proofreading, which is a massive issue with the game.
Yeah, I mean, not even getting into, like, there's actual problems with the subtitles and the text. Like, we'll get into that a little bit later. But as far as just, like, the story itself, and, assuming that there were no text errors, just the story itself, it really feels like it's a first draft. There are, like, there's very strange, how do you put it, plot contrivances, just coincidences. Like, I'm sure you caught it, but since you were streaming, like, it's very easy to miss stuff like this. But the person who knocks out Emma when Emma first arrives at the mansion, that was the father.
Of course.
And the father knocked her out because he didn't recognize his own daughter. Granted, like 20 years later or whatever. But I don't know. Just something odd about, like, someone randomly walks into your abandoned mansion on a whim and you're just like, oh yeah, let me just knock her out and see how that goes. I don't know. It's just so convenient. You know what I'm saying? It's just way too convenient.
If the father was working against the priest, who's the grandfather, why would he basically just give the sacrifice on a silver platter?
The idea is that the father... Okay. Maybe you didn't catch this one. Maybe you didn't catch this one.
Maybe I didn't.
Because this is fucking dumb.
Because I checked the fuck out.
I mean, this is, like, explained, like, very much towards the end of the game.
Yeah, so that was probably the point I checked out.
So the father's main, like, call to action, his main, like, character arc, whatever. His wife got infected by the Cthulhu monster in the in like the deepest basement.
Yeah, and like the Cthulhu, like her, like ghost fatty wife is the monster that is the loading door monster.
Wait, what? Say it again.
Like his wife became ghost fatty, who you see taking a bite out of somebody's head, and it's like, oh, just go in and out of a door.
No, that's that's Anna.
Get the fuck out.
I'm not even kidding. That's Anna.
God damn it.
That's Anna. No, the wife is gone, dead, and disappeared. Fuck, man. This thing, now I think about it, like this thing kind of plays out like a really bad anime. It's so dumb.
Okay, no. Now I have more questions. Now I have way more questions. If Anna is like magical one-shot kill super monster ghost fatty, how is she tied up at the end when she's a ghost who can phase through walls and shit?
No, those are both the same monster.
So how is she tied up at the end?
The priest? ... question mark? That's all. That's as far as I can go.
She can phase through walls.
The priest?
She's like super ghost.
The priest ... question mark? That's your answer. I don't know what else to fucking tell you.
Also, what's with all this Christian symbolism when you're not even fighting a demon?
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me wants to say that it's like to throw the audience off, to be like, oh, it was Cthulhu all along. It's actually a completely made up religion, even though we literally have Jesus on a cross. It's not even like it's supposed to be symbolic of Jesus on a cross. It's like, no, they literally say it's Jesus Christ of Nazareth on a cross. Like they say it's the dude. So it's like, it's Christianity. Oh, but wait, no, it's actually a made-up religion. It's like, what the fuck then?
On top of that, do they ever explain what the hell dimension even is? Where it's literally fucking hell.
I think it can just be inferred that the Cthulhu Monster...
Like, there is blood rivers... Silent Hill Otherworld, inverted crosses like it's a fucking metal album cover.
I don't know. Like, I don't remember.
That's hell. That is literally hell. Explain, game, please.
I mean, the Cthulhu Monster either came from outer space from a meteor, which is very Lovecraftian, and it has the power to create this alternate dimension, or it came from this alternate dimension. And now, okay, so now that's the part that bothers me. I was about to say it's trying to pull other creatures through, but the creatures, the monsters that you fight in the game, they're normal human beings. They've just been transformed into monsters due to the radiation that the Cthulhu monster emits. Like, all that's explained in the text documents. Like, that's lore. Like, it's very plain day when you read through it. So where does the Cthulhu monster even come from? You know?
Space.
Like, I think that's the best explanation, and it's probably explained in game, and I just don't really recall 100% right now. But yeah, like it doesn't make sense why this other world is the way it is. If it was supposed to be this evil dimension that, you know, is a terrible parallel to the real world, and that's where a bunch of monsters come from, then fine. But it's explained that no, the monsters were normal human beings that were infected by Cthulhu's radiation. So I don't know. The other world is just there because Silent Hill did it. Like there's no other.
Did you clap? Did you understand the reference?
There's no other way around it.
I can't believe we left Emma alone in the dark on this Silent Hill in this evil residence.
What was I trying to explain earlier? It was something about. Oh yeah. Okay, so all right. The father's whole character arc, his call to action, the wife got infected by the evil Cthulhu monster. Okay, and
Okay.
and okay. So to be clear, the wife did turn into a monster. Probably looked very similar to how Anna the monster looked, but before the events of the game, the wife was already like destroyed and done. Like she ceased to exist before the events of the game. Um, what the father had been trying to do is either kidnap or subdue whatever a bunch of people, infect those people with the same virus that the wife has, and experiment on them in order to come up with a cure. Um, when Emma walked into the mansion, he knocked out Emma, injected Emma with the virus, experimented on her to try to, figure out a cure. But before he could give Emma his latest version of the cure, by the way, whenever he gave, one of these experiments, his latest version of the cure, they all died immediately. So he was like, all right, I got to come up with another version. Before he gave Emma the latest version of the cure, Emma woke up from the bathtub. She's like, oh, fuck, my eyeball is missing. And the game got started. All right. And the diary notes, he's writing all this down. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have been so careless and left her in the bathtub. Now she's escaped. She could be anywhere in the mansion. Even though all the doors are locked, but okay. I'm tired of experimenting. I'm just going to try this latest cure on my wife and hope it doesn't kill her. Turns out that he uses that cure on the wife, and that's the one that works. The wife just fucking Sailor Moon magical girl transforms back into a normal human being. And during a short moment of lucidity, the wife says, it was your father all along, the evil priest, that's the villain.
Who did it?
What kind of a stupid name is Yoo-hoo? Anyway. So the wife said all that, and then immediately afterwards, like, just dissolves into goo and dies. Not even fucking kidding. And that's why you're like, why would the father give up Emma on a silver platter if he's against the priest? That's when he learns that the priest is the villain. And then
so he just spent time writing about it?
I just remembered, and this is the best part. In the diary, he goes like, so it was my father all along. I'll never forgive him for this. I'm going to finish this once and for all. Ugh, I don't feel so good. Someone has poisoned my drink.
It's like, okay, first of all, pal, why are you like openly drinking alcohol in your death mansion surrounded by monsters with
They don't.
My God.
They don't. My God, what have they done in making this game?
My God, what have they done?
They don't really explain that. They don't really make it clear when the monsters show up. You kind of get the impression that the monsters have been there for a fucking while. That the monsters are just chilling and living in there, and that's just, that's their day-to-day is patrolling the mansion. That's a strong impression you get, all right? But at the same time, that diary entry where Emma's father died, all right, from drinking the poison that his father gave to him, the priest, okay?
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, to be clear, it's his father-in-law. Just to be clear here, okay?
Yeah, like married in.
Married in, yes. It's the wife's father. Anyway, fuck, where was I? Okay, when the father died drinking the poison that the priest gave him, okay? That happened like 2 or 3 hours ago. Like when Emma gets to the office and gets that diary entry, like her dad died like a couple hours ago. Like this just happened. So either the monsters populated that mansion within a couple of hours, like they just all swooped in very quickly. Or the father and the priest have been living in this mansion just chilling, and, you know, the monsters didn't bother them, or they snuck around a lot.
They just made friends with the monsters.
None of it's explained. None of it makes
No,
any fucking sense.
They lived there with them. They formed an alliance, clearly.
I mean, these are the same people that, you talk to the priest, and he's just eating soup. He's just chilling. And then he's like, oh my, who put this in my soup? Here, get rid of this, would you? And it's like a fucking... it's a fucking bolt, like, for screwing pieces of wood or metal together, like a giant bolt. And it's, like, bigger than the fucking bowl of soup itself.
It's like this industrial fucking, like, construction site bolt that you can use to, like, put into a fuse box and connect it.
How did this get in my cup noodles?
Yeah, just right in the middle of my fucking, like, whole, like, Costco ramen.
So I don't know. These... Clearly there's something a little off with these people, but that's okay.
It's fine. It's I'm just disappointed.
Oh, very. So, yeah, you might recall when you got one of the quote-unquote better endings, Emma injects the monster with the cure, and the monster, like, magical girl Sailor Moon turns into a human being, you know? Like, it all happens very quickly.
Yeah, you are the one called Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon.
And immediately after that, like, they have, like, a quote-unquote touching moment, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And then...
Quote-unquote.
And then the person, like, immediately dissolves. That wasn't the mom, that's the sister. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, and then, like, you know, the game's, like, the true ending, which you went through the effort to see, and I applaud you for that.
Well, yeah, like, I said I was beating it that night. My God, we went for it.
Emma literally time travels to rescue Anna in the past, bring her to the present, which is Anna's future, and then raises her own sister as her adopted daughter.
It's sister-daughter. You know how it is.
I'm afraid I don't. I was not aware. I didn't realize that this was a thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's fucking weird.
I think it's just too, like, the biggest issue I have is just how dry all of this presentation is. All of what you just said is presented in these terrible, like, I'm trying to find a word. It escapes me.
Most of it is in text documents.
Exactly.
Because very, very little of the story until the end. But for the vast majority of the game, like, almost nothing in the story is presented in dialogue. Like, the vast majority of it is presented in text documents.
And it's like, I think that's my issue, is that when you get down to it, you actually lay it out. This game fucking goes places. Like, it has, not limited to, but including time travel, Cthulhu old gods, ancient ritual sacrifice on Native American burial grounds, supernatural radiation that turns people into fucking skeleton monsters, literal hell.
I was just say, yeah, hopping between alternate dimensions through mirrors.
Like, in which the hell is like a completely different fucking faction, I'll add, essentially. Like, they never explain that.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. You know what? It's really fucking bizarre because they never... I don't know. It's fucking crazy. It's like, where do you start? Because we're going on, like, they don't explain hell, okay? Like, they don't.
No.
It's just a thing. But let's be fucking real here. Do they fucking explain time travel?
No. Like, you put this, like, the VHS tape in, you walk through, like, to Mario 64, it goes, ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, here we go.
It really does, man. You walk through a fucking projector in the wall. You might as well be a fucking painting.
Yeah, it's like we're just going to ball on battlefield, motherfucker.
God damn.
Oh my god, that would be an amazing fucking mod shitpost.
Oh, like fucking. It's Tormented Souls, but when you go through the projector, it becomes
It just
Mario
becomes
64.
Mario 64, and like Caroline's just in like fucking dire docks.
Oh man, that would be good. That would be pretty fucking good. That would be a great shit post. No, yeah, like it's not just hell that's not explained. It's crazy considering that they go through a lot of effort saying that there's an old tribe of people that have been worshipping this Cthulhu god and going through this ancient ritual. It's never explained why it needs to be twins, but you know what? Fucking whatever, okay? I'm not even fucking going there. There's bigger questions to tackle. But they've been doing this ritual for a long time. The Cthulhu Monster emits a radiation that turns people into monsters. It mutates their flesh to, to completely alter how they look. And it causes nearby metal objects to fuse to them, which is where they get these crazy weapons on their bodies. All of that is explained in the text documents. There is not a single fucking mention of this alternate hell dimension. And you know what? You remember that text document where this mechanical engineer, he's like, "Oh man, one of the nurses told me that a light bulb is flickering. I went to examine it.
The patient, where it's like you go up to it, the patient freaked out.
No, I didn't mean that. I wasn't even getting at that, all right? Like, well, I mean, that's another one. That's another one. But no, I'm talking about, like, he goes up to the light, and, like, in the text document, he goes up to the light bulb, and then, like, this old man, who I think we can assume is a priest, pushed him away with a strength far greater than what he would appear to have. And I don't know what his deal is, but I guess I better not mess with that light bulb. I mean, I think that's proof enough that there is, because, the light bulb leads to that magical mirror that, goes to fucking Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
That proves enough that these people should be aware. Like, the priest is aware of this alternate hell dimension, But that's the only clue you get that people are aware of it. Otherwise, no one ever mentions it. It's never brought up in the slightest. I mean, it's fucking weird, dude. I don't know. And then no one ever brings up time travel at all. Everyone, I was going to say everyone just accepts it, but I mean, just Emma accepts it because she's the only one who does it. And then Anna at the very end of the game.
So why didn't... Okay, so if the priest is aware of... is the priest aware of time travel? He has to have some knowledge if it's just lying around.
I don't know.
Actually, how does the VHS cause time travel? It's just a VHS tape.
Yeah, it's just is it the screen projector that causes it? Is it the actual VHS player that causes it? For all we know, it could be the camcorder they use to record on it. Maybe that's what causes it. It injects the time travel power onto the tape it's recording, I don't fucking know. I mean, keep in mind that there's not a whole lot on these movies. It's just a still image. So that could be the best explanation I can think of. I don't know. And on top of that, the time travel's not limited to a single room. You might think that initially, but the one where you have to put the mold in the freezer and the car battery, you go to different rooms for that. The one for where you have to get the eyeball, you walk around the beginning area for that, It's not.
Yeah, that's an entire chunk.
Yeah, it's not limited to individual rooms. Like it's legitimate time travel. Like, if there weren't arbitrary, furniture blocking paths, like, you could probably just leave the mansion and be like, all right, I just went, fucking 20 years in the past now, and here I am.
Yeah, we know they can, because at the very end of the game, she steals her fucking sister
Yeah.
from the past.
Yeah, she time travels her sister from the... I don't know. Look, all I'm fucking saying is that if Emma had any bit of a fucking brain, she would get the sports almanac and bring it to the past. That's all I'm fucking saying, all right?
It might have solved some problems.
It would have solved a lot of her problems. It's just, man. It's just dumb.
I know, it's like, another thing too is like, it's just the story has so much prominence when there's nothing to it. Like, it's not saying anything. The characters aren't doing anything really. They're all like very static and flat.
Yeah.
So it's not doing anything, but it's so prominent and in your face.
It's so prominent. It's in your face. Like you said earlier, it has so many fucking layers. Not that it's deep, but there are so many, like, just one of these things would be enough for a game. But like you just said earlier, it's got Cthulhu, radiation poisoning, time travel, dimension hopping. Like, just one of those things would be enough. And this game's got it all.
Yeah, and it's like it only explores a Cthulhu.
And then, like you just said as well, on top of that, like, the story just fucking sucks. The characters are uninteresting. And it doesn't fucking go anywhere.
I don't know, like, it's... I don't understand.
It's fucking weird. I think what you said, it feels like a first draft. I never thought of it that way, but that's exactly what it is. It feels like it never got proofread, it never got refined, it never got discussed. They were never like, oh, should we change this around? Should we do this different? It's... I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
No, it just feels like a first draft.
I don't know if I have anything else to say on the story. I feel like I didn't really say anything just because it was so disorganized, but if you haven't played the game for yourself, like, you don't fucking know.
Yeah, and outside of that, like, I have nothing to say about the story, just being blunt.
Yeah, it's whatever. Let's just talk about the presentation, because I think there's a fair bit to talk about here that I think is fairly interesting. The presentation. So, even though it's a fully 3D modeled game, and they're obviously going for the fixed camera look. For the most part, the camera, moves and follows you around a little bit here and there.
It's a fixed camera the way the camera in Resident Evil Code Veronica was fixed.
Yes, exactly. Due to the fact that because it's 3D, actually, it also works similarly to Dino Crisis. In that sense.
Yes, actually, it does.
Because, as you remember, Dino Crisis didn't have pre-rendered backgrounds.
No, it's a full 3D game.
Oh, excuse me. Let me get a drink here.
Yeah, no worries.
So, because of that, it uses that kind of style where sort of fixed camera for the most part, but the camera also can move when it needs to. That being said, there's a lot of detail in the background. Kind of like an old fixed camera angle kind of game.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 1 wasn't so much like this, in my opinion. Resident Evil 1 had a lot of flat colors. A lot of rooms were oddly empty, so to speak.
It's very basic. Like, it feels like early 3D animation. Like, if you look at the color scheme in something like Reboot or Transformers Beast Wars, like something like that.
Exactly, yes. Exactly like that. A lot of flat colors, which is fine, because, that's the time period and whatnot.
I kind of like it. It's like there's something to that aesthetic. I think it's somewhat interesting.
I agree. I think it can be cool in the right setting, the right mindset. But then you look at Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, which those used pre-rendered backgrounds as well. But those backgrounds were very heavily detailed. In Resident Evil 3, the shop windows, they might be broken or something about them they have some kind of detail that stands out. And in Resident Evil 2, when you go into the police station, some of the rooms might have like a ton of soda cans strewn about, really unnecessary minor details. The way that cardboard boxes appear, if they're stacked up, one of them might be open. Just a ton of weird minor details, right?
Yeah, and so if you want to go on that topic, Resident Evil Remake is insane for that.
Yeah, the first Resident Evil remake, right? Actually, Resident Evil Remake 2 as well.
Well, Remake 2 is like not pre-rendered. It's like different entirely. So it's like, I'm just talking like the fixed angles one.
Yes, that's right. That's fair. But no, but I mean, I also thought that like Resident Evil 2 remake was like that. But to be fair, you could chalk that up to Capcom just having like an explosive budget at that point, and they were just going crazy. But yeah, Resident Evil 1 remake also like had a ton of details, and is like one of the last really good. Was it pre-rendered backgrounds?
Yes.
It's such a late game to have pre-rendered backgrounds. But I mean, so did Alone in the Dark, the New Nightmare.
Yeah, but that game sucks, so moving on.
Well, but the point I was getting at is that even though Tormented Souls is fully 3D, fully modeled, it's not pre-rendered backgrounds, everything's fully 3D modeled. Despite that, it's very busy. Like, there's a ton of, posters that are detailed that you can read. Not like you examine it and you read it, but I mean like in game, like just with the game's graphics, you can read what the posters say. There's like, and then the first area, the floorboards are wood, and some of them just have holes in them with like a tree coming out of it, which is really weird and doesn't make any sense. There's like a ton of weird details. The way that furniture gets piled up, a lot of the furniture can be very different and unique. It feels like it's supposed to be a pre-rendered background game where there's, like, again, there's like a ton of weird, unnecessary details that are just meant to make the game look good. But it's fully modeled in 3D. I don't know. Do you got the same feeling? How do you feel about that?
I don't know, because like, it is that very strange thing where this feels more like sort of like a Code Veronica with the 3D modeling, with the fixed angles and everything like that. I'm not sure. Like, I'm fine with it. I think, if anything, I kind of prefer it in this case. In this one case, I prefer it.
I think it looks really good, but
it's consistent.
And it is consistent throughout the game. Like, the part where you get into like the really deep basement and you get into like this hallway that's just a row of toilets all being lined up along the wall. It's like, for what? It's so strange.
Well, the thing is, like, I don't know, it's like, it's just there to be spooky and kind of like, oh shit, this is like super uncanny and weird.
Yeah.
It's just there for that.
But it makes me wonder if they put less effort towards that, could it have gone towards other areas of the game? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It also makes me wonder if it makes me wonder if the director of the game, because I'm sure a lot of this was, was his directorialship. A lot of this was because he said so. But it makes me wonder if he was better off as an environment designer, as, kind of a layout artist, and less so as an overall game director. Like, I'm trying to figure out what the problems here is.
Well, for me, the number one issue I have with the sort of like presentation is how the presentation impacts gameplay. Because there's two big issues I have with it. One, the game is terrible at highlighting important items.
That's true.
Absolutely fucking terrible at it.
It's very true.
So you will accidentally miss like very key items just because the camera did not emphasize it. And the whole point of the fixed camera angle in something like a Resident Evil and a Silent Hill, what have you, is yes, it's there for the cool cinematic shots, the Dutch angles, whatever the fuck. But it's also there to show you key information, like here's a key, here's a gun. It's just like here's a puzzle item, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
really
flip
that's
side,
really true. I almost forgot about that until you brought it up. Tormented Souls is really fucking bad about that.
Oh, dude, like you will miss the monkey puzzle items just so easily because the game does not call attention to those items.
I mean, it's crazy because both you and I ended up having the opposite items missed. So you missed the guillotine, you know, that the monkey's in, and you drop the guillotine and you get the item from him. You missed the guillotine, but you found the judge's, what's the, I don't know, the judge's table, whatever, that the puzzle that the guillotine item goes to, you know, the scroll.
Yes.
You found the puzzle, but you missed the item. I got the item, but I missed the puzzle. And I ran around that area so many times, and I couldn't find it, and I just stumbled upon it eventually. I'm like, oh, where the hell was this? Yeah, it's so bad about it.
And it does this constantly. Like, the presentation is good at getting those cinematic angles, like everything like that. There's one in particular that I think is quite well done. It's the surgery room. It's when you first walk in there, and you're looking through where the spinning corpse was when you're talking to the priest.
Oh, sure, yes.
From that angle, looking in on you. And then when you turn a corner, there's just like a hanging body as like this silent jump scare. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good example of when it does work. And even though I didn't get the answer to that puzzle, I had to look it up online, but I think it's a fair puzzle. I think they provided reasonable clues, and I think that's one of the better puzzles in the game. I think I'm fine with it.
That's one that somehow I got, so I was kind of surprised by that.
Well, like, I distinctly remember you were kind of lost in that area, and I'm like, all right.
I was looking for a specific item, and you said, like,
yes,
go to the fucking priest, and like, okay, wait, I got it.
Yeah, and I told you, like, just look at this room for a while. Just, the answer is here. You just have to look, and then you're like, wait, I think I get it now, and then you immediately, yeah. That's one of the few puzzles in the game that I'm okay with, that I think they did a clever job with. But yeah, in general, like, that's a good example of the camera direction working. Most of the time, the camera direction is terrible.
Like, I think the camera direction is great for showing cinematic aspects, and that's it. And it misses the part where you're supposed to highlight gameplay aspects.
Yeah. And a lot of games of that style kind of have a problem with enemies being just off screen. And you kind of want to reorient yourself so that you're within a wide viewing angle. You can see the enemy clearly. You can maneuver around them. You know what I'm saying, you know, without bumping to the edge of the area, and then the camera changes again, because that's annoying.
I will kind of defend it. Like, well, not even like this game in particular, but like the genre in general, where usually you're going to get a audio warning, because like in almost all the good versions of this, like the Resident Evil games, the better Silent Hill,
yeah,
there is an audio cue when you aggro an enemy.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. In this game, there's no audio cue until the enemy sees you, and then the enemy just immediately starts gunning for you. And by that point, you're like, I don't know where the enemy is coming from, because the game is so fucking dark. And you're like, all right, maybe I should just turn around and try to get my bearings. By then, you already took a hit. And
yeah.
there's very much no warning. It's a very annoying game to play in that sense. Uh, I was gonna say like it sucks when the enemy is just outside of the screen, and you have to fight them that way. But I would excuse that as part of the genre. But like you just explained, Tormented Souls does it particularly poorly.
Yeah,
It's
it's very
it's
special in how bad it is.
yeah, like it still has that issue. It does nothing to remedy it, and it makes it a little bit worse on top of everything. So it's like, well, what the fuck then? What else did you have a problem with the camera? Because you said like it's a pain in the ass in the way that it doesn't highlight items. Did you have
Okay,
another
well,
issue, or was
the
that already
number
it?
one issue that I have with it is the fact that, okay, so you actually kind of segued into it. It's and issues with the enemy, where the number one problem with the enemies in this game is the starting spitter enemy.
Oh my god, that's the worst enemy.
And the reason that's the worst is because they can spit through geometry.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
They ignore
fucking
walls.
ridiculous.
Their projectiles ignore walls, ignore furnitures. You can set it up and have a test like I'm going to stand a couch between this monster and me. You can clearly see on the camera the spit goes through the couch. It's like, yeah, fuck this game.
Like, I remember specifically I had it in the lobby,
Yeah.
where in the opening lobby, like, sorry, I'm obviously just stumbling for words, but in the like
No, no,
the
you're
main
fine.
lobby,
This is like halfway through the game. You return to the main lobby, and it has been
and there's
populated by
just
enemies for no reason.
yeah, there's just little spitter dudes running around,
Yeah, there's
and
four of them. There's two of them on the second floor balcony hallway, and there's two of them on the first floor where all the couches are.
it's this ruined foyer design, where you will just have this long chain of geometry that you can't move through, but they can spit through, and they
Yeah,
will hit you.
yeah, yeah. Because there's like three or four overturned couches on that first floor that you kind of like have to run around and figure it out. And like you just said, it's one thing if they're blocking your path a little bit, and it's like, all right, I got to kind of maneuver around these guys. But the fact that they spit through the geometry and it hits you, it's like
Fuck off.
fuck off. Like whatever, dude.
And I think the worst part too is like obviously it's like going into the gameplay a little bit, but the Caroline is made of fucking wax paper.
Oh,
She's so brittle.
It's so crazy how easy it is for her to die. And it's so funny because you get so many healing items throughout the game, but once you enter combat, if you're not careful, you just go through all the healing items. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it sucks, man. Like, we'll get into that more later, but combat in this game fucking blows. And it's not like combat is, the the primary highlight of this genre anyway, but like, holy fuck.
No.
Like, holy shit, though. I don't know. We talked about, like, camera direction. The lighting is particularly really nice for this game.
It reminds me of visually a lot of Doom 3.
Doom 3, huh? The way the flashlight works.
The way the lighting works, like it's very good stuff. Like I don't think it's quite as good as Doom 3, but like the comparison is there.
I'm sure a big part of the comparison is because Doom 3 is also an extremely dark game.
Yes. But, yeah, it is.
It's nice. I think it's very silly how much light you get out of that tiny little lighter. Like, god damn, that is a really fucking powerful Zippo lighter she's got. Like, you'd figure it's a fucking electric fucking lantern. It lights up so much. Uh, I don't know. I think it's a little bit goofy, but if we can just imagine it as a more traditional torch, then it does its job and it looks
Yeah.
pretty good. And the way like it dispels the darkness and you can see you see things come into view as you progress through the hallways and whatnot. And I think it looks really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I had more to say like in detail. I don't like the shadow that Emma casts when she walks around. You see like the shadow behind her. Uh, Something about it just I can't put my finger on it, but something about it just seems
It's
wrong.
basic. It's like very just
That's
here is hitbox shadow.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Here's a hitbox shadow. It's not even trying to be a little bit transparent or anything. It's just like hard black, exact copy of the character model, stretched out. And it just feels wrong. It's like there's nothing natural about that shadow. It's weird. But other than that, the lighting's really nice. Graphically, the game looks
Yes.
really nice. Um, I think the music and the soundtrack, I think it's very good, except for the final boss. The final boss
Well,
music
yeah.
is fucking embarrassing.
It's annoying, and we'll talk about the final boss. I have very specific thoughts on that,
All right, we'll leave that for the
but
end.
yeah, we'll leave that for the gameplay chunk. But like, I think in general, I'm gonna give the music like I guess a thumbs up here. It's one of the better aspects where it adds to an atmosphere, but it never distracts. Honestly,
Yes.
until the end. But
Yeah. It's. I mean, we'll talk about more later, but yeah, like not you specifically, but like in general, you're kind of getting into the game because of the music, and it's like, oh yeah, I can see myself in this environment, and I'm getting immersed. And then you get to the final boss, and it's like, the fuck is this song? It is so jarring because the rest of the soundtrack is fine.
yeah, like I will say in general, like one thing I will get this game is it does build a mood and an atmosphere. Like I think the only game that I can think has done something like the only horror game that has built an atmosphere quite strong as this, I guess it would be RE7. Like I think RE7, like one thing I will get that game, it built a very strong atmosphere.
That's RE8 is Village, right? RE7 is
Yeah,
Louisiana.
yeah, 7 is the swamp.
Yeah.
Mansion.
It's hard.
Like
It's hard for me to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked Resident Evil 7 a lot. I really liked that
I thought it
game.
was a pretty good game.
But it's hard for me to look at the atmosphere super fondly because I feel like only the first half does it extremely well. Then you get then you get to the
That's
second
fair.
half. You get to the second half and it starts to fall apart. You get on the boat.
Well, like
Then you get to
that's
the
the game in general, frankly.
I mean, that's what everyone thinks about. Oh, you mean the game in general falls apart in the second half?
Yeah,
Yes.
like the
Yeah.
second you get to Lucas, I think the game starts to dip in quality.
Yeah. And even then, like I was fine with Lucas.
Lucas is fine. It's just it knows. Like I thought Lucas as a stand-in for the traditional Resident Evil final dungeon, like final laboratory.
Yeah, yeah.
That was interesting.
I thought it was
Then
cool.
you get to the boat.
Yeah, then you get to the boat, then you get to the mines, and the mines is basically just action gauntlet. It's like, all right, wave after wave of enemies kind of thing. And then the game kind of just ends almost immediately after, right? Am I forgetting it?
Yeah, because like you basically it's like through the mines, you just go back to the starting house, fight Evelyn. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't the Resident Evil 7 cast, but
Well, stay tuned. But
I think the point that I wanted to get at is I agree with building that atmosphere in terms of visual design and music. for the first half of Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Especially like the earlier the game is, the stronger the atmosphere.
The Jack and Marguerite sections
Yeah.
are legitimately excellent at capturing atmosphere.
I think after Marguerite's boathouse, after Marguerite's greenhouse, that's where like the boss is.
Yeah.
After that is when the game very slowly starts to nosedive a little bit.
Yeah, it's why it's like when I look at Resident Evil 7 and 8 back to back, yeah, 8 is a better game. It's more consistent throughout, I guess, but
Eight
at
eight
its
is
highest point,
eight's more consistent. Yeah.
8's more consistent. I prefer 7 at its highest points.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it. I agree with that. I prefer 8 overall, but if we're talking about when each game was at its best, I gotta give it to 7.
7
I prefer
reignited my love of Resident Evil, and 8 is just like, yeah, this game's pretty good.
yeah. I prefer exploring the Baker estate more than I enjoyed the big tall lady castle.
And okay, well, the thing too, like that kind of sucks to RE8 is a cynical point of view, but for a fucking fact RE8 took the direction it did just so they could have assets for Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if they're even actually doing Resident Evil 4 remake, which
I'm
probably
confident they're doing it.
They probably are, but we'll see.
And it's gonna look a lot like Resident Evil 8.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the only reason 8 took the direction it did is just so they could have like free assets, basically.
I mean, we'll see how that goes. But again, this isn't meant to be the Resident Evil cast. Your point stands, and I agree. Tormented Souls builds an atmosphere very well, and
It's
comparing
shockingly effective.
yeah, and then compare, which is crazy considering how fucking stupid the story is. But if Tormented Souls didn't have any story at all, there were like no voiced characters, and it was just silent characters exploring a mansion, and you just had to guide them to safely, so to speak. I think it would actually probably be a better game. I'd rather have no story than like one that's completely fucking retarded. Like,
Actually, you know what? If you wanted to do like H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu, cosmic horror in a game and try to capture that idea of it's incomprehensible, having a completely silent game outside of like the most rudimentary text descriptions to give tutorials, things like that.
sure.
Like outside of what is absolutely necessary to complete the game, having silent characters, silent events, no dialogue, while having it be like an H.P. Lovecraft, old gods from the stars kind of thing. I think that might be the way to do it.
That might work
Because,
out
like,
better.
You have no explanation, so the whole concept of the fear of the unknown and incomprehensible nature of these things is just kind of inherent because you're never given anything to work with.
Yeah.
I think that might be the way to do it.
I mean, at the very least, it would be better than what we got. What we got is just so dumb. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, other than like it feels like a really stupid anime.
Yeah, like all of it would be way more shocking if you just like went further down the mansion and saw like, oh, there's just toilets that are all lined up in this hallway. It's like, I think if the game had no narrative, that would be more eye-catching and a little more unsettling.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, after all, you're going through the game and you're trying to figure things out for yourself as a player. But with the story we got, it's like, oh, we're fucking time traveling? I'm like, all right, I guess fucking anything's on the table. And then on top of that, we time travel and Emma's like, how is the statue not broken? What do you mean?
Well, yeah,
I've talked to you before, father. father priest person? What do you mean you don't recognize me? I'm Emma. I dropped out of elementary school. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm Emma. I eat glue for a living.
I eat glue for a living. Do you have any paint? I ran out of paint to drink. I don't know. Like, I think that would... I feel like anything would be better than the story we got. But, yeah, it's crazy considering how stupid the story is. The presentation is pretty damn strong.
I think it's like my largest point about the game in general is I would love to see a second run at this. I would love to see what the studio could do.
A second attempt.
Now that they have experience under their belt. And, fingers crossed, because, apparently this game went over quite well with people.
Did it?
It's gotten quite good reviews. Look it up if you don't believe me.
No way.
It has quite positive reviews.
Dude, get out of here. Unbelievable. I mean, I believe it, considering some of the crap that gets celebrated, whatever, but... Man. Wow, yeah, I mean... On Metacritic... average on PS5, 72 out of 100, which isn't bad. On PC, 75 out of 100. On Xbox Series X, 81 out of 100.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
And 80 is pretty fucking good. And this game is fucking terrible, dude. I don't know, man. Is the Xbox version just a totally different fucking game?
No.
I don't know how to put it. This game fucking blows. I don't know.
It's a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 4 out of 10. And to be perfectly fucking honest, a big part of the reason why I gave it that high of a score is because I just wanted a classic survival horror, fixed camera angle kind of game. And I applaud the effort. And for the most part, the game runs and whatever. But yeah, if this game was released during the PlayStation 2, for example, which you could argue it's like a really good-looking PlayStation 3 game. Yeah, you know what? I think that's fair. This could have released during the PlayStation 3. I don't think that's crazy. Am I wrong?
I think this looks on par with something like a Dead Space.
Yeah. So, if I was reviewing it as a PlayStation 3 game, I'd be like, dude, screw this. This game's freaking horrible. But the fact that it released today, during a time where it's been so long since a traditional fixed camera angle horror game, that made me a little more soft-hearted,
I think too is another thing is this game has no competition outside of the 2 other releases that came out this year.
Yeah,
and
that basically came out at the same time.
One of them, it's the medium one of them is even worse than this.
I got to try the medium for myself because I can't believe it's I saw the gameplay. I'm like, dude, this looks so annoying to play.
Dude, the medium, you are not prepared.
I can't imagine I am.
Also, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna keep this in because I'm a fucking renegade. But yeah, it's a GOG game, which means it's free. So do what you will.
Fair enough.
That's how I played it. I'm not paying money for that shit.
Fair enough. One thing I'll say about the music, I think the individual tracks are quite good. Again, aside from the final boss track, but I think the individual tracks are quite good. The problem is there are too few of them, and before long they start to repeat. You start hearing the same tracks over and over, and it definitely got on my nerves anyway.
That safe room piano theme is burned into my fucking brain. I only played the game once.
And it's it's a good song. It's just,
It's really good. It sets a mood. It's really nice.
you know what? Part of it might also be technically it's a short game, but getting through it the first time, it's a fucking marathon. And you know, like the Resident Evil game, like Resident Evil 2 for example. No, I'm thinking about it. That had a pretty good soundtrack. It had a good variety of tracks, you know?
Oh, dude, Resident Evil 2 has a legitimately fantastic soundtrack, like the
Yeah.
original. Like, go through that OST and just listen to individual tracks. It is extremely underrated.
Yeah, it's good shit.
'Cause, like, no one talks about music in Resident Evil games, but like RE2's soundtrack is so good.
It really is. I think Tormented Souls just didn't have enough tracks, and a lot of them just got repeated. I think that's
My question is like, do they not have enough tracks because they just couldn't afford it?
and that's perfectly possible and understandable, but we're not judging a game based on its budget. We're judging a game
Exactly.
based on what it is. So, if they didn't have the budget, unfortunate, but that doesn't change the fact that the game's shit. So,
Game sucks. Don't listen to everyone else.
it's one of those things where I would want to play the game alongside someone who really loves the game just to see what they see.
It's kind of like you feel about this how I feel about Silent Hill 4. Like I need to know what people see that I don't.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I feel the same about Silent Hill 4. I distinctly remember playing that game when it was brand new, and I was looking forward to it so much because at the time, Silent Hill 3 was it kind of still is, but Silent Hill 3 was one of my most favorite games of all time. I loved Silent Hill 2, but Silent Hill 3 really grabbed me. And
I would be fascinated to hear you go back to the original 3.
yeah, no, I really want to. One of these
And
days, I really want to review 1, 2, and 3.
even if you don't review it, even if it's just like honestly,
Just
if you just want to do another one of these where it's just like sit down, fucking record it.
talk about games.
Like if you just want to do these just for the Silent Hill trilogy, I'd be down because you can clear those in like 5 hours.
Yeah, and I already know what to expect of the game, so they're not going to be long.
Yeah, so it's like if you just put like normal like normal action, normal puzzle, you could clear it,
Yeah,
and in like less than like if you do one a day,
yeah, one a day.
in
It's
like
done in 3 days.
you could easily do it,
Yeah,
and we just like knock them out. Like I'm not gonna lie, I don't request very often.
but
I would be interested in doing
that's a
that.
big one.
I'd like to do that.
No promises. I never want to give promises, but that's a fair request. We'll just see.
Like, yeah, nothing scripted, nothing professional, like just a sit down kind of thing.
But
I
I
would love to do it.
I distinctly remember that Silent Hill 2 was the first of the series I played, and it really opened my eyes of like video games can be more than just goofy fun. Like I already knew they could be kind of scary because I played Resident Evil 2 when I was very young. And that game scared me. I mean, I played Super Ghouls and Ghosts when I was very young, and I distinctly remember it gave me a nightmare one time. But
Yeah.
I was like a little kid.
Well, on top of that too, it's like there's a level that's straight up just like digestion tracks.
Yeah, like that one level in Super Ghouls and Ghosts is just
like,
like,
wait a
what the
minute.
fuck? But anyway, like Silent Hill 2 really impressed me. I'm like, video games can be, they can be something more than goofy fun. Like this is really crazy. But Silent Hill 3, with the camera direction, the graphical quality, the voice acting, and in general, I felt the gameplay was stronger than Silent Hill 2 as well. That game made a tremendous impression on me. I was so impressed. I'm like, this is one of my favorite games of all time. This is so close to perfect, is how I felt about 3. And I got Silent Hill 4 the day it came out. I was so excited. That was the first time I've ever been like insanely disappointed in a game. Like disappointed to an absurd degree. I share your hatred of Silent Hill 4.
I just wish I understood. It sucks because despite what the fanboys of Silent Hill 4 will tell you, where they go like, "Oh my god, this is such an underappreciated game. Everyone hates it, but us like intellectual geniuses understand it." Like, to be fair, you have to be an extremely high IQ individual.
To be fair, it requires a minimum 300 IQ, and you zoom in, and it's like there's a decimal point between the 3 and the 0.
Just 2 in. Shit, dude, you just got 2 in. But yeah, it's like the kind of like this smug superiority of the Silent Hill 2 defenders, where I would just love to know what they fucking see in it, because every time I see these arguments they bring up, like it's the one that I think Andy from the Boys posted, where it's like the chick talking about Silent Hill 4.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh my fucking my.
I wonder if I should bother, but I can only imagine.
Off air. But the point is, like, she makes this nonsense statement about how, like, Henry Townsend, the main character of Silent Hill 4, is like, he's actually one of the most like complicated and compelling protagonists and characters in the Silent Hill series. To which I immediately say, "Go fuck yourself." No, he is not.
I mean, that's a bold claim for a character that never talks, for starters. And if we're talking about the whole series, like, we're putting him alongside, fucking James, Angela, Eddie. I'm not going to say Harry Mason had too much of a character, but I think
Harry had more character.
I would say he had more character, but I won't, like, go too far to say, like, he was a super big deal. But I will say that, that Lisa, I think, had a fair bit going for her.
She did. She really did. But it's like, to me, it's like, I hear that, and it's like, are you fucking insane? Like, if you read the actual design docs and developer interviews, like a fucking autistic guy loser like I do, like, they say, without a hint of exaggeration, Henry Townsend is a blank slate you're meant to project on. That is literally from the horse's mouth the intent of the character.
I mean, that's how he comes off, too.
That's what his point was. I think it was a mistake to make him talk, and I think making the protagonist of a psychological horror game, as pretentious as psychological horror is as a fucking label, that's a conversation for another day, but making the protagonist of like a story-driven horror game a total non-entity and blank slate insert is a huge fucking mistake.
Yeah, because what is the audience? I mean, you can argue that if you make them a blank slate, then the focus can be placed on the characters around, what's happening. So you could say, like, well, maybe Walter Sullivan is supposed to be the focus,
Yeah, Walter has no character either.
Yeah, but exactly, that's what I was going to say. It's like, there's still not fucking much there. Like
Walter Sullivan has the same amount of characterization. It's like, okay, so like creepypastas back in the day of like X and like fucking Wattpad, where creepypastas were a thing.
Sure.
Like the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Like, Walter Sullivan is basically like fucking Jeff the Killer. Remember that image?
No, but I get where you're going with this.
I'm gonna post it, but it's like, Walter Sullivan is a tragic backstory given a name. That's it. There's no character to him.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. Not only tragic backstory given a name, but taken from the throwaway side story of a previous game just because they needed to throw together a story real quick.
Pretty much. Like, I don't know, it's like, and the whole, I could get into it. I've gone into it in the past, but
no, you have, and for anyone listening this far, I would highly recommend. Oh, I remember that Jeff the Killer image. That's familiar.
That's Jeff the Killer. Fish face boy.
For anyone listening this far, definitely, if you want to, if you're into Silent Hill, definitely check out Doom's videos on Silent Hill 2, 3, and 4. I'm sorry, Silent Hill 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, 3's coming soon. Stay tuned.
But all his videos on 1, 2, and 4, in particular, the ones on 2 and 4 are I like the most. But they're all fantastic. Man, 1 is really good. The one about the way that the repeated environment models, the way that they're utilized, that it's not, part of it is reused assets to help with cost, but that there's actually a fair reason there that you can explore into. That was really good. His videos on Silent Hill, they're really good. I would encourage you to check them out.
I am something of the Silent Hill Spurg master.
Just because read interviews and design documents and no, I'm afraid not. You think Silent Hill 4 sucks, so you're not a real fan.
I've had that conversation so many fucking times.
So ridiculous. Whatever.
Game sucks.
We're moving on. The point of that whole rant was how the hell is Tormented Souls so liked by critics? And it's like, well, so is Silent Hill 4, so anything.
I think it's a novelty.
Anything's possible. Oh, the novelty of Tormented Souls being released in this time period, it's totally possible.
Like, straight up. It's just like novelty of, traditional survival horror game. Oh, I don't know what to do next. I have to look up a walkthrough. Just like the 90s.
Just like the 90s. Well, I guess a strategy guide for the 90s, I suppose.
Yeah, but I just look up all the solutions now. Because I'm absolute fucking charlatan.
You say that, and we're going to go ahead and transition into the gameplay now. But I'm not even fucking kidding. Without a single hint of irony. And if I'm just fucking retarded, then fine. But I am willing to put money down and bet that the video game reviewers and the critics who played through Tormented Souls and they scored it highly and whatever, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they were mailed the puzzle solutions along with their copy of the game.
If they weren't mailed the solutions, there was no review copies for this game given out. Like, let's say theoretically there was none.
Sure, like let's say theoretically, and like all the critics, they actually got their own copy and they all played it just as well as we did.
Yeah, and what they did is they waited for the puzzle solutions to show up on the Steam page or on GameFAQs, and they just copied that.
And that's what they went for.
Yep.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. I mean, I think half of the puzzles are fine. I know you had a really hard time with some of them that I didn't have a hard time with, but I also believe that vice versa. What was a puzzle that you found fine? Oh, you know what? Man, I never fucking guessed to put the blood mold in the freezer, and you went right for it.
And to me, it's like, that was the most obvious thing.
Man, I never guessed that one.
And I think another one was like, I turned off the power, immediately as I saw, the electric thing. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I remember there's power.
I never put 2 and 2 together that you turn off the basement generator. That was another one that I just didn't fucking get.
I think you said it at the time. It's like, it really just feels like you're either going to instantly get it or you're not.
Yeah. And then by the same token, the cash register puzzle, that was a rough one. But I was like, let me just sit down and look this over and see what I can figure out. Like, the solution has to be here. And that's part of the problem with this game is a lot of times it's not clear if you have all the items you need. And a lot of the times it turns out you do have all the items you need. It's just not clear. So you think like, maybe there's another item somewhere in the mansion that I'm supposed to collect first. But for the cash register puzzle, I'm like, I have to have everything I need. The solution has to be here, so let me figure it out. And it took me like a good 15, 20 minutes of just staring at the screen and walking around and being like, what is this supposed to mean? But I feel kind of proud of myself that I figured it out all on my own. But then for you, you're like, dude, there's no fucking way. Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, it's like some of them, like, straight up just felt like nonsense to me. Like, okay, let's go to the monkey puzzle. Like the see no evil, hear
I
no
think the
evil,
monkey
say no evil.
puzzle is like I think everyone agrees. Did Default have? Well, did he say like he was okay with that one? I don't recall.
He said he was okay with it, but
Yeah.
I would like to know if he was watching it and reading all the text.
Yeah, like if he was there with us, so to speak, you know.
Yeah,
It's
it's like,
perfectly possible that like I don't know, maybe if you're looking at it from the outside, it makes a little more
well,
sense.
speaking of default, not to like kind of shill him in here. I met a Kami on YouTube, not to shill him in here for a second, but he and I had the same problem with the key puzzle, whereas like
Yeah, where I
the
didn't.
circle
I was
is not infinity.
I was perfectly fine with the key puzzles. Like pretty much all of them. I actually enjoyed the key puzzles quite a bit. Yeah, I got that like the alien is supposed to represent the star, the pharaoh is supposed to represent the triangle, the bee is supposed to represent the hexagon, and you I think default specifically Metacami, he's like, how the fuck is that supposed to be a star?
It doesn't look like one.
I don't know like it's so fucking crazy like I've never played a game with such a diverse selection of puzzles, you know, aside from something like fucking Professor Layton. But this game has all kinds of different puzzles, and either you get some of them or you don't. But I don't think anyone can figure out the whole fucking game on their own. Like
I defy you.
some of these puzzles are really out there.
Like it, I don't know. I think it's like it's the fact that some of them just like straight lie to you. Like let's go back to the monkey one. Like, so when it comes to interpretation of the written word in a game that already has questionable translation,
Yes.
it's like, okay, this could either be say no evil or speak no evil.
Yeah.
Speak no evil or hear no evil. Like,
Yeah, yeah. When when the mother of the person on trial, she writes a sign and holds it high above her head. Is that speak no evil because she?
or is that see no evil? Because
Yeah,
you're reading it.
because you're reading. Yeah, is that speak no evil because she won't say it, or is that see no evil because the judge is seeing what she writes? Um, it's like I feel like when I say it out loud, I'm being really dumb about it, but you really have to play the game for yourself. And that puzzle in particular is so bad because if you get the solution wrong, the way it works is that like there are four slots, and the last slot is obvious, at least you would assume, but you don't know. This game's fucking crazy like that. But the last slot is supposed to be the headless monkey. And the other three slots, they have hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, or none as an option, you know? And you have to set up the four slots. If you get one wrong, it randomizes all of them, and you kind of have to start over. So it's kind of easy to lose your place and be like, well, fuck, what did I have before? Let me look it over again. Really? That's not what it's supposed to be? Well, I mean, let me do it again. And like everything just falls apart. It's not like any other normal puzzle would be like, no, it's wrong. All right, well, let me change this one slot, you know?
Yeah.
No, it's still wrong. All right, well, let me change that back and let me change a different slot to see if that's what it is. I guess they thought that would be too easy, but it's like, what's like, I don't know, like what the fuck, man? And then like you get to the point where like maybe the last solution isn't supposed to be that he's headless. Maybe that's not it. Or maybe like one of the first four slots, the answer is supposed to be none. It's not hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And it's like the game just doesn't fucking help you at all. It's such an asshole about it. You know the puzzle with the skeleton and the buttons?
Yes.
That one threw me off so fucking much because I didn't consider that you're supposed to press one of the buttons twice. You're supposed to press one of the buttons
Yeah.
twice. And I don't know. it just feels like there's no consistency with this game's puzzles at all. It just
And then there's the other ones
goes
where
all
it's
over
like,
the place.
it's just examine the item. Like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Power adjustable stapler. I have never in my fucking life seen a power adjustable stapler.
So, the very first puzzle in the game, pretty much, you solve it by turning the numbers on a padlock, and you do that by examining the item itself. And that eventually gets you a monkey wrench. And you use the monkey wrench as a replacement for a door handle. And you try to use the monkey wrench initially, and it's like, oh, it's not, I haven't fitted it to the right side. You have to examine the item and actually move the monkey wrench itself. It's like, okay, that's very clever. That's kind of it.
For me, it's like, I don't even think it's clever. I think it's tedious.
No, I was going to say, like, they don't actually have you examine items too often. What I mean is that there can be long gaps where you don't examine items anymore. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I have a staple gun and I'm trying to staple and it says the power's not good enough. Well, fuck. Do I have to look for a battery for it? Doesn't even look like it's electrical. Like, this is just weird. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to examine the item and interact with it that way. And it's like, there's no consistency. I don't know. It's weird.
On top of that, too, is like, it's just very frustrating because, like, why would I not want the stapler adjusted to max power?
Like, why
manually?
Why wouldn't Emma do that herself automatically?
Yeah, it's like, or like, why would she not say like, oh, I need to adjust the power on this maybe or something like that? Like, give me a fucking verbal clue.
And instead, she says that the stapler is too weak. Do I have the wrong stapler? Am I supposed to use this for a different puzzle? You don't know.
Am I supposed to use the nail gun?
Am I supposed to use... You have a nail gun, but no, you're not allowed to. Don't even get me started on that. There's the fireproof rope that can only be cut with a knife. Because apparently the lighter doesn't work.
Apparently my nail gun doesn't work. Apparently my fucking shotgun doesn't work.
Yeah.
Apparently, like, my fucking wrench doesn't work for just, like, tugging it out.
I mean, this is getting into classic, traditional point-and-click adventure kind of nonsense. But I don't think that's what most people would expect out of a survival horror game. But it is really crazy that this game feels like it's taken pretty heavy influence from a point-and-click adventure. And I don't understand why.
Well, I think I've said this at the beginning, but like, this has the most puzzle density I've seen of any video game that is not a dedicated puzzle game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, just like Resident Evil has its quote-unquote puzzles, but none of them are, particularly a real big deal. At the very least, they make it extremely clear what you need, and they give you a strong idea of how to solve it. You just have to go along with it and figure it out, And either way, like, the puzzles don't break up the pacing of the game too much. They're a short, small distraction, but you move on quickly. Tormented Souls has so many fucking puzzles. And they are of such a high difficulty that it really does get in the way of the game.
Like, it's frankly ludicrous how many there are.
Yeah. And aside from, like, the first 2 or 3, aside from that, because, you have, like, the padlock in the bathroom at the very beginning of the game. Then you have the getting power to the generator, all right? That's a fairly easy puzzle. If you would agree, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Aside from, like, those 2, from then on, the puzzles get more and more absurd. Like, way more convoluted.
I think the biggest issue I have is, like, it almost feels as if there is, for every individual room, there is a significant puzzle to go alongside it.
So I wouldn't say for every single individual room, but pretty much.
like there's less exceptions than you would think.
Yes. Like, it really does feel like every other room in the entire game has either a dedicated puzzle or a hint or an item required for another major puzzle. Like, so much of the focus. And it's like, isn't Resident Evil about exploration? Yes. Exploration doesn't mean puzzle solving.
No.
This game actually has more puzzle solving than it does exploration, in my opinion.
It's a puzzle game. I would say this is a puzzle game before it is a survival horror game, because I don't think the game's hard. I don't think it's difficult.
It's easy if you know what you're doing. It's easy if you know. That kind of goes with every survival horror, where it's like if you.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Like, okay, here's my sort of caveat. I don't think it's a hard game. I think it's a punishing game where it's very easy. It's a very easy game. It's just if you make it any mistake whatsoever, you will be pounded to the fucking dirt and ground into it.
Yes, and it's a very easy game to die. It's like surprisingly easy to die, and then to compound this to make it worse, it's one of the very few games. I mean, you would think it's a cliche, but if you really look at it, not too many games do this. It's one of the very few games that has limited saves that requires items to activate. Obviously taken from the Resident Evil ink ribbons, but when you get down to it, not too many other games do it. Silent Hill doesn't have limited saves of any kind. Dino Crisis, which was also made...
Alone in the Dark doesn't.
Yeah, Alone in the Dark doesn't. Dino Crisis, which was also made by Capcom, that also made Resident Evil. Dino Crisis doesn't do it. I don't know. Like, it's a very Resident Evil thing. And I think if you really think about it, not that many horror games actually use limited saves. I mean, really, not
the thing I would say,
not that many games in general really use limited saves. Now I think about it.
But the thing I would say too is like it's more punishing than even Resident Evil 1, the very original. Because like original black box Resident Evil 1, you had 2 saves per increment, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like when you go to a typewriter that you haven't been to before, the typewriter should give you 2 ink ribbons. If you're not mistaken. I don't quite recall myself.
Yeah, so it's like, if I remember, it's like minimum 2, generally 3 for most of the series.
Yeah, and then like Resident Evil 2 I'm more familiar with. I know that one for sure gives you 2 ink ribbons for every new typewriter that you haven't been to before. Gives you 2 ink ribbons. And there's several ink ribbons scattered throughout the police station. You get a lot of saves to work with. In Tormented Souls, you only get, we'll call them ink ribbon for the sake of simplicity. You only get 1 ink ribbon per save point that you haven't been to before. And even so, like, if you're what's the term I'm looking for? If you're trying to be careful with your saves, you will stockpile them after a certain point. But in total, there's only like 16 or 18 saves in all of Tormented Souls. Compared to like the Resident Evil games, I want to say like on average, they'll have like 20 or 30 if I'm not mistaken, if not more.
I don't know, like, I think one of the big issues I have is it's only a problem and only punishes you for the early game.
Yeah.
Because once it reinforces that behavior of saves are limited, I have to pick and choose what I do. Okay, well, any challenge out the window. Because by even the midpoint of the game, you will have more than enough saves for the rest of the game.
Yeah, by the midpoint of the game, you see you have like 8 saves left over that you haven't used yet. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess it'll be okay if I start using them a little more liberally. And then by the end of the game, you have like another 5 or 6 saves that you haven't used, but it's the end of the game now. And it's like...
Yes, it doesn't matter.
So what was the point of all that? Yeah, I definitely agree that it only punishes you in the early game where you're more nervous and you're not really sure how to proceed. Um, it doesn't add that much to the game. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's not necessary. Like, I don't mind too much dying and going back to a previous save and having to redo stuff because once you know what to do, you can go through the game very quickly. But what does it actually add? I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. I think it takes away more than it adds.
It's just like it's just there to punish you in the early game.
Yeah.
And once resources are no longer an issue, then at that point the entire system becomes rudimentary. It's I hate saying game design is outdated or archaic, but I think limited saves is
It's something that doesn't necessarily need to come back.
it doesn't add anything.
I mean, the only games that I know of that have done it recently are like Resident Evil 7 or 8 and the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes as well. But in those cases, it's only on the higher difficulties. And by then you already know what to expect. So you're just trying to, now you're trying to work around this added challenge of limited saves that you haven't experienced before. But you still have a good idea of what to expect from the game itself. It's not designed to be a fundamental, integral part of the game experience on your first go.
Yeah, it's like it's there as like an option essentially.
Yeah, as an optional additional challenge. And that's it. And with that I'm fine with. Like that's not a big deal. But yeah, like fucking the puzzles, the saving, how about the fucking combat? Like I don't think I don't think
How about the what? You cut off a little bit.
Oh, I said how about the combat?
Okay, so the combat feels really basic, but the biggest issue I have with it is hit detection is consistently a problem.
Hit detection is absolutely a fucking problem. My biggest issue with it feels extremely stiff. It feels like it takes too long for Emma to go from the ready stance to attacking and then back to a neutral stance. It feels like
Yes.
It feels like you have to run up to him, assuming you're using a melee weapon. You run up to a monster, you get into the ready stance, you go to swing. By the time you're done swinging, you don't have time to swing again. You have to react to the monster's attack, and you do the dodge. After you dodge, you run up, you do the whole process again. But at most, you get like one swing at a time. It's an extremely long and tedious process. Thankfully, there are guns in the game. That helps a lot. But still, going from aiming your gun to actually firing, and then to making sure that you're in a neutral stance so you can dodge, there's such a long window between all these actions. It's extremely strange.
I don't know. It's like another thing too is like I enjoy the addition of a backup dodge. The issue is like the starting spitter enemy is like the bane of the only defensive option you have.
Yeah.
Because like it's just gonna hit you.
You can, if you time it perfectly, you can do a back dodge and the spit goes through you. The dodge itself has straight up invulnerability frames, but the timing for that attack and specifically is just fucking impossible. And it just fucking sucks.
And it's the fact that it hits you through the fucking
yeah. And it hits you through the
all
environment.
Geometry.
Through the geometry, yeah. It hits you from literally impossible angles.
Yeah, it's like come the fuck on.
No, it's very fucking stupid. God, I don't even. Whatever, dude. I think the weapon designs are really cool and creative, for whatever that's worth. Like I'm fucking grasping at straws here, but I do think it's really nice that you get a you get a nail gun as your pistol. What's that kind of shotgun? I know it has a name. I know you know what that the kind of shotgun it's called.
Well, one, it's clearly like a rudimentary one, but it's like this sort of, I guess, break action single shot.
Oh, I thought it had like a specific name as opposed to just saying it's break action single shot.
It's weird because like it's obviously it's not like shotgun. It's just like two pipes.
Yeah.
But I like that. That's really cool.
It somehow uses shotgun shells. It's like fine, whatever.
Well, it can. It totally can. Like shotgun shells are extremely easy to use doing that way.
Like very versatile.
Yeah, it's like as if the second pipe has something to prime the firing, like and get the firing model on it, like the center of the shell, basically. Like I'm forgetting the names of it.
As long as it has a primer and a firing pin.
Yeah, if you can hit it, you can do it.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. But
yeah, it's like
whatever the case may be, I think it's very creative looking, and it's a really cool design.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's like, as much as I hate to say it, it kind of fits the setting of Canada, where it's like, yeah, you're not just gonna have guns lying around.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, there's a shitload of shotgun shells lying around. But
yeah, don't worry about it.
don't worry about that, I suppose.
Don't worry about it.
And then
okay,
like,
you know, it would actually be good if there
on.
was like one shotgun in the entire place. You like the end game, you get like an actual shotgun.
Oh, like a real shot. I see what you're saying. Yeah. As opposed to like
that would be kind of cool.
As opposed to cobbling these two pipes together.
Yeah, it's like this is where it all came from. It's like it was intended to be just for like this one shotgun owned by like the priest, I guess. But yeah. Whatever.
Oh no! How about that fancy room in the deepest part of the mansion where you get the cure from? You know, that like really fancy marble room that like it's really out of place.
Yeah.
And that was clearly like the underground office for Emma's dad. Or maybe that was the priest's room actually, because you get the cure there, but the priest does kill the father. So yeah, maybe the priest took the vaccine and left it in that office. But yeah, I think it would be fairly appropriate. I think it would be fairly appropriate if there was a legitimate shotgun in that room, you know?
I think that would just be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, okay, where did it come from?
It would be a fair explanation for why there are so many fucking shotgun shells throughout the mansion. And then you have that weird electric cattle prod as like the final weapon.
I kind of like that because like it's clearly the most powerful one, but it sucks. Like it's just like ramshackle together. I really like it.
Yeah, like this is going back to like building an aesthetic for the game's world. They do such a good job in the strangest of areas, you know? Like what the fuck, man? Why isn't more of the game actually good? I don't know, but the fucking combat itself.
It's very basic. I think that's the thing about it. It's like there's nothing to it. I think it's interesting. The enemies have like no variety to them outside of they're gonna come at you. They're gonna maybe spit at you, and that's the one.
I mean, the enemies are so similar to each other in the sense that you have the wheelchair enemy. You have that one enemy that's he's like being hung on this weird thing with wheels, you know? That's the enemy that like
it's sort of like the IV stand.
Yeah, he's like being hung on an IV stand. That's the enemy that like explodes with a bunch of spikes coming out of him, whatever. But the wheelchair enemy and that enemy, they're the same shit. They're like there's no difference between them. The only difference is that because like spikes come out of him, he can hit you from any angle technically. That doesn't mean anything because it's not like you can hit the wheelchair enemy from behind anyway. If you try to run around him, he just like spins around in a circle and hits you from the front. So it's like, all right, doesn't make a fucking difference. It's such a weird game that I think in most survival horror games, you kind of want to circle around the enemy and hit them from a dead angle. In this game, if you're doing melee combat, you actually want to hit them from the front and watch their attack and try to dodge.
Yeah.
Which I respect the attempt. But like I just said, it's so clunky. And it's so stiff. And it just fucking I fucking hate that. I hate this game. I hate this game so fucking much.
It's just, I think, like, more than anything, my number one sort of complaint with the quality is that this is a death by 1,000 cuts situation.
There's so many little things.
It's all little things. And it's like, the problem is, every little thing just keeps adding up, and they keep compiling on each other, and they just make the worst possible shitstorm.
I mean, man, I was really trying to like this game. I got really into it, and I'm like, the story is fucking dumb. The controls are kind of janky, but you know, and some of the puzzles are like really out there. The monkey puzzle, I'm like, if they do this shit again, I'm fucking checking out. But for the most part, I was trying really hard to stay invested, and I was pretty much enjoying the game. But then you get to, oh man, I had it on the tip of my tongue for a second there. I just forgot it. You had this one puzzle that you get to this part, and it's like, that's it. I fucking had enough. Oh man. What puzzle was that? I was just about to mention it, and it just escaped me. It was a very late game puzzle. What do you remember about that stuff?
Is it the fucking safe puzzle?
That's it. I just remembered. Yes, I got to the safe puzzle with the television and the safe. That's when I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't get it at all. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to look at. Yeah, like what is this? I looked it up online. I followed the direction exactly and I solved it. But I'm not sure I understand how you're supposed to come to that conclusion. It's like, no, like, I'm good,
yeah, it's
man.
not happening.
I mean, like, from what I understand, the different symbols are supposed to represent the different parts of the puzzle, but it's like, does the dice represent 3? Because that's, it's showing you 3 sides. After all, you can only look at 3 sides of a dice at a time. Or is it 6? Because a dice is 6 sides.
I don't know.
Or
because,
is
I saw the dice
the combination of the numbers?
10. Yeah, the combination of
because
was 10.
Yeah, exactly. Is it the combination of numbers? It's probably not 3 because one of the other symbols is a tricycle. But it's like, I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. And like on top of that, you had to figure out the order of how to change the channels because it's supposed to match with turning the safe. And I was just I was already really frustrated with the game leading up to that. In particular, those fucking sewers are a fucking maze. Like, goddamn. But I was already frustrated up to that point. But then you show me this safe, and I'm just like, no, I'm fucking good. I had enough. Just give me the answer. I'm so fucking done with this game. I can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, I tried to do it. Honestly. I really tried to do it legit.
It becomes too much after a while. It's overbearing. Really. I don't remember if you said the exact words already, but the number and difficulty of the puzzles, it becomes overwhelming. It's just like, I fucking had it. And then when when you get the fish hook, you're like, all right, so what the fuck is the fish hook supposed to be used for? And then you just put that away. You don't think about it for a while. Later on, you get the eyeball, and you're like, all right, so I got my own fucking eye back. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And then when you learn how it is supposed to be used, and it's like, dude, what? Like, this fucking game. It's just, the whole game is fucking insane, man. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, like, I'm struggling to think what else I gotta say about it. It's just, it's a death by a thousand cuts. I desperately wish it wasn't.
How about when you solve the gas puzzle and you go to pour the
Oh, fuck
gas
off.
and it's like, oh, I didn't open the gas cap yet.
That was the moment.
That was the moment for you. That's when you're like, I'm out. And for that reason, I'm out.
I just had to stop. I had to take like a break on the stream. I was so done.
Oh, man. I would have fucking loved it. I'm actually disappointed they didn't do this. I would have loved it if you pour the gas in the gas can and then you put the gas can in your inventory, but you don't close the gas cap. I would have loved it if there's a cutscene where Emma's, going down the basement and she trips and all the gas spills out. And she's like, oh man, I should have closed the gas cap. And you have to do it all over again. It's like, fuck it. Why not? Just go all the fucking way. It's just like, man, the game is just fucking crazy, dude.
Why would I not automatically open the gas can?
Like, why wouldn't Emma just do that herself? I mean, we already determined that she can't put two and two together and figure out that she's time traveling. We already got that out of the way, So
That's clearly what I want, though. That's the one thing.
We have to understand that the character we're working with doesn't have the largest IQ available. So I don't know, dude.
I guess not.
It's something else.
I guess she's just an actual brainlet. Like, her brain is liquid. She put it in the paint shaker.
Oh my god. Yeah, real quick, the enemy roll call. Fucking the wheelchair and the IV monsters, they're basically copies of each other. The really tall zombie and then the hammer enemy, they're basically like spongy power enemies, end game sort of enemies. Also very similar. And then the spitter. I don't think I missed anything. Like, that's the whole enemy roll call, right?
I think so. Like, I guess the final boss, but
Yeah, the final boss I'm counting separate.
yeah.
Oh, and then I forgot the ghost monster that chases you around.
Oh, yeah, like the fatty in the wall.
Yes, which fucking hilariously, anyone who ever cares to play the game, you want a tip. That monster has its own soundtrack. When you enter a room that the monster is in, and you hear that distinct music start up, if you immediately go back out the door you came from, and then go back in that same room, the monster despawns and will not chase you again. Works with 100% accuracy. Never fucking... I can't emphasize enough, it never fucking fails. You don't actually have to interact with this game's version of a Nemesis ripoff. And it's like... And I felt like an idiot the first time I played the game. I must have dumped like 15 or 20 shotgun shells into it. Because I figured like, I don't know, is this a boss? And then I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this thing actually doesn't die. And then afterwards, like, just by accident, I figured out, like, let me just try it. What if I just leave and come back? Is it still around? It's like, no, it despawns them. Its greatest weakness is you walking away. I interrupted you for a second there earlier. You said, like, you didn't believe
like,
me.
I was just saying, like, I didn't believe you. Like, straight up.
But no, you tried it yourself, and it's like, yeah, that's the game. It's fucking, I don't know, dude. Like, how poorly programmed is this game where that's a thing, you know?
The whole thing just feels like an afterthought. Like, one, it's a reference to Silent Hill 4, so it's like just another haha. It's a reference, just haha. I understood. I clapped.
I mean, it's clearly like a Nemesis style sort of monster in the sense that like it's chasing you around. But yes,
It's the ghosts.
yes, it is very clearly the ghosts.
Like, it's the same movement pattern too, where it's like it just drags along like a Gmod model.
Like a Gmod model, it really does.
It doesn't look great.
No, it really is like there's no acceleration. There's no, I don't know how to put it. Like there's no spring in its step, so to speak. Even though I know it's floating, but there's no weight to it. It really is like basic generic model doing the most basic slide animation as it flies through the environment.
I don't know, man. Like well, one is, what's the point of introducing an enemy like that if you're just gonna give such an oversight? Like, it's such a clear oversight that has to be intentional.
It makes me wonder. I really don't know if it's intentional or not. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I really don't know one way or the other. The game is so fucking janky that it could have been an oversight, or it could have been like the director's like, oh, this enemy type would be really cool, but he's also really annoying to deal with. And if the player runs out of ammo, this could be a problem. We want to implement a way where the player doesn't have to deal with this. And it's going to be kind of like a little secret cheat code, like a secret that, you know, not everyone's going to get. Like, I don't know. I really don't know if it was an oversight or if they, like, did it intentionally. It's very strange. I mean, that's the whole fucking game in general. This game's fucking weird, man.
It's so fucking weird.
Well,
Yeah, like, straight up, like, the only thing I can think of is, well, one, okay, last thing about gameplay. It's the final boss sucks.
that's what I wanted to say. I really want to hear your thoughts on the final boss.
It's the final boss, Silent Hill Downpour.
Yeah, like, of all the bosses to rip off, they literally took the final boss verbatim from Silent Hill Downpour.
Like, it's the exact same setup. It's go to the four sides, go to the four setups, do a little contraption to hurt the boss, and then the boss dies immediately after you finish. Great, cool, so engaging.
You know, my favorite part is go to the contraption to do the button press minigame to solve that little puzzle.
You fail once.
You can spend as long as you want on it. You can let that thing spin all at once. You can take your time doing it. But you mess up one time, the whole thing immediately locks up. You got to start over. Not even start over, like you got to start the puzzle over again. You got to walk up to the boss and shoot it a few times in order to open it up. You got to start the whole thing over. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, why? Why is it like this? I mean, why is that the final boss in general? Like, it's so dumb. It's so crazy that for a game laid out with such insane puzzles, the final boss happens to be the lamest fucking puzzle in the whole game.
It's the most basic of them all.
Like, what the fuck? I don't know, dude.
Yeah, that's it. It's like I couldn't believe of all things to reference at the end. It's fucking Silent Hill
It's Silent
Downpour.
Hill Downpour. Of all the games, I don't know. I mean,
Arguably the worst one in the series.
Tormented Souls is janky enough. Could very well be that they just took inspiration from Downpour. I don't know what else to fucking tell you.
Well, it's like Silent Hill Downpour apparently has like a lot of fucking fanfare. Like people have retroactively said this game's actually really good. Shut up.
How? Like, just how? Like, I'm so confused. All right. Whatever. Winback has its fans. Whatever. I don't really fucking care anymore.
I'm so done.
Clearly, this industry's not for me, and I'm just fighting against the waves. It's fine. Whatever.
Pretty much.
Where's the where's the I was gonna say where's the fan base for Sonic 06, but I'm sure it's there. Where's the fan base for Alone in the Dark 2008? Where's the fan base for Amy?
Oh well, the fan base for Amy is us. But
Where's the fan base for A Ride to Hell Retribution?
well, okay, Ride to Hell at the very least, I can kind of defend, because like,
It's so bad it's
come
good.
on now. It's kind of fucking hilarious how pathetic it actually is.
What game is funnier? You know what? I already know. It's Ride to Hell. I was gonna ask, what game is funnier, Ride to Hell Retribution or Cruise Brothers? It's gotta be Ride to Hell though.
Yeah, no, it's right. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
I say
hold on.
it's Ride to Hell because you have moments like I need to disable this electrical fence. The most logical solution is to take out the entire nearby power plant. You have that. You have the part where you have to drown this guy in the water basin in a church. And if you wanted to, you could just hold him there.
Oh yeah, you just like it's a fucking GIF file basically.
Yeah. Oh man. Ride to Hell has fully clothed sex. I guess part of the point I'm getting at is as bad as Tormented Souls is, it's not the worst game I've ever played.
It's not, and it's like on top of that, I want to see what they do next.
Yeah, like they're skilled. The development team is skilled in certain areas. I think, keep the environmental artist. Get a dedicated get a dedicated writer, to make a better story. Get a different gameplay director in general. Like the Tormented Souls game director, like I think a lot of the problems are because of him. Because,
Yes.
a lot of the shit goes through him and he's just like, that's good, put it in. Yeah, that gets a pass. All good. Looks good to me. It's like, bro, I don't know, man. A lot of this shit does not get a fucking pass. I think like there is potential here, but for this first attempt, I think it was bad. I didn't think they did a good job at all.
I think it just kind of falls the fuck apart, honestly. And honestly, frankly, I don't even know what to say about it. Like, I desperately hope that they can do something about it and get a second swing.
It's crazy because I don't think it's as bad as something like Sonic 06 or Ride to Hell Retribution, or I'll put Cruise Brothers in there as well because yeesh. I don't think it's as bad as those games, but Tormented Souls sure is a lot more fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
It's an extremely annoying game to play. And both you and I, like, we fucking love traditional fixed camera angle survival horror. We fucking
100 fucking percent. I want one of these games to be good.
yeah, not even like the recent Resident Evil remakes. Like, we recently replayed the original PS1 Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And both of us fucking love those games.
Still good. Still hold up.
You fucking love Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3. I haven't played them for a long time, but from my memories, those games are fucking gold standard. Those games are fucking treasures.
In my opinion, 100%.
I fucking love the genre. I think it's a fantastic genre. And I played the demo for Tormented Souls before buying the game, and I could tell right away, like, dude, this is not good. Like, this is janky. But I was so excited for just a new classic survival horror game. I wanted to like this so bad. I wanted it to be really good. And I was like, even though it's janky, I want to see where this game goes. I'm just really interested in it. And I bought it fucking full price. I bought it on the fucking PS5, the physical version. I didn't buy it the day it came out, but I got it fairly soon after. And yeah, like, I don't know. This game fucking sucks. Like, it's really trash. And it's hard for me to say it. I would prefer, like, I'm glad I played it in the sense that I could see for myself how it is, but I would prefer not to have played it at all. I feel like I wasted my time. Like, the game just fucking blows.
I'm glad I played it. I don't know if I go that far.
I think that's actually my final thoughts. Like, that's really how I feel. I feel like I wasted my fucking time with the game.
My final thought is, like, I'm glad I played it to know. I don't know, like
like you're glad you played it to see for yourself. You really want them to make a new one, but as it is, game fucking sucks.
Game sucks, and if this is it, okay.
So like you want them to have another attempt. I want
one more swing.
I want them to have another attempt just because I just want good games, and if they think they have something up their sleeve, I'm kind of willing to give it a shot, so to speak, you know. But personally, I don't think I could care less. If this is the only game they made, so be it. It's fucking whatever. This game didn't do enough to impress me. Again, I wanted to like it so hard, but it's like, it's so fuck. Oh my god. Man, remember the puzzle where you have to match up the music on the record player to the buttons? It's like every time I'm like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad, and I just remember another puzzle that it's like, dude, what the fuck? You know, I got the coin from the cash register fairly early, but I didn't know what it was used for the longest fucking time because I didn't realize you could interact with the vending machine. Like, I wasted hours of the game just running around mindlessly. Like, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about, dude. Like, I fucking hate this game. This game fucking blows.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's like what could have been the scenario more than anything.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I have nothing else to say.
Could have been a lot better. I feel that. What could have been. But that's what we got. And I'm the same. I think that's everything I have to say.
And it has almost been 3 hours.
Yeah, well, you know.
That's what you call a based gamer decision.
When we have a lot to say about shitty games, that's kind of what happens.
So yeah, that was Tormented Souls and, you know, other games.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we did talk about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think both of us, we just have such a love for for survival horror, for horror in
Yeah,
general.
it's the genre in particular where it's like if it wasn't this specific niche,
Yeah.
neither of us would give that much of a fuck about it.
Yeah, exactly. If Tormented Souls was more of like an action heavy game and it just used horror as a backdrop or whatever, something like Evil Within, for example, I'd be like, whatever. Take it or leave it. Game sucks, okay, fine. The fact that this game tries to be so classic, that's what hurts. That's what hurts because it's so bad.
It's the exact thing you want, and it's just a terrible version of it.
Yeah. That's an extremely good way to put it. Fuck it. It is what it is.
And yeah, that's basically it.
Well, thanks for listening in, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, and thanks for coming by. I'm probably gonna say, hey, I'm that Silent Hill thing is on the table. Just saying.
Again, like, no promises. I never want to give promises, but all I'll say is maybe.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, it's on the table.
It's on the table, and there's like a Taco Bell chalupa on the table as well. It's like maybe to sweeten the deal.
Maybe, huh? I just like poke it a little bit, like.
All right. That's it from me. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm out of here.